Good morning. You're welcome to another edition of Study Time with the Word. It's a new week. My name is Hilda, and we're coming to the end of the year. That's 2024. This week, we're going to be talking about a teaching with titled "New Year, New You." Okay. Today, let's look at what we'll be doing differently and what we'll be doing better, because a lot of us are very fond, or we have developed a culture where we talk about New Year resolutions, and we actually never resolve to do what we have resolved to do. Proverbs chapter 16, verses 3. Proverbs 16, verse 3. It says, "Commit your actions to the Lord, and your plans will succeed." So let's look briefly at the things that we should be doing differently in the new year. Okay, number one, love God better, love God revelationally, not by words of mouth, but by obedience to his word. Love him better than you did love him this year. Love him better, know him more. Let's look at 1 John chapter 4, verses 20 to 21. 1 John chapter 4, verse 20 to 21. It says, "If someone says, 'I love God,' but hates a fellow believer, that person is a liar. For we don't love people we can't see." Because if we don't love people we can't see, how can we love God, whom we cannot see? And he has given us this command: those who love God must also love their fellow believers. So the true way to know that you love God is that you love those that you can see. So do that differently next year. Love God better than you ever did. Grow in your love for God. John chapter 14, verses 15. It says, "If you love me, obey my commandment." The number two, build focus. Build your focus this coming year. Do away with distractions. You've been distracted enough. Do away with them. Build your focus. The reason why a lot of us didn't attain the heights we planned out for ourselves, or the reason why a lot of us are not doing more for ourselves or doing more for God, is because we're too distracted. Build focus. And you know what your focus should be. Your focus should be God. Build focus. Then number three, quit the excuses. Stop making excuses. Instead, make progress. Don't live a life of willful sin where you have an excuse or reason as to why you are staying in sin. And excuses can keep you from living the best life that God has for you. So be stronger than your excuses. Stop giving the excuses. Luke chapter 14, verses 15 to 20. We just talked about a parable where a man prepared a feast and a banquet, and he sent a servant to tell the guests to come, that the banquet was ready. And then what happened in verse 18? They all began making excuses. God is calling you today. Don't give an excuse as to why you're not answering the call of God. Don't give an excuse as to why you're not attending to God. Don't give an excuse as to why you're not letting God into your heart, why you're not letting Jesus reign in your life. Stop the excuses. Be stronger than them. A lot of us have excuses for not going to church. This year, a lot of us didn't go to church. Some persons didn't fellowship with the brethren because they felt that they can grow. You're not wrong. But do not forsake the gathering of the brethren. Don't give an excuse as to why you're not going to church. It's because the pastors, they exploit people a lot, or it's because everybody comes to church for different reasons. I'm sure you have a reason why you shouldn't go to work and you're still going. You have a reason why you shouldn't be in that department, but you're still there studying. We have a reason not to do things, but we do them because it makes us better persons. So quit the excuses. And some of us also have excuses as to why we don't share our faith. These are some of the excuses we made this year. Some of us didn't preach to one person. Some of us didn't talk to someone about Jesus. Don't give an excuse as to why you're not sharing the faith. Some persons might say, maybe because I'm still struggling with this thing, that's why. It's okay. It's okay. Share the faith, preach Jesus, okay? And then do better. Then number C, we're talking about number 3 now. We were talking about excuses. Number C, don't give an excuse to remain in sin. Don't willfully sin and be okay with it and be comfortable with it and not even dread the consequences. As any persons that will tell you, oh, this thing I'm struggling with it, I can't actually do this thing, I'm trying and all that. No. Trust that God's help is available. Some persons even blame others for their sins. They blame others instead of taking full responsibility for it. We see Adam and Eve in the book of Genesis. Adam blamed Eve blamed the serpent. Some people are like that. They blame one person, they blame the other situation, they blame the circumstance. The reason why I'm sleeping around is because I need to survive. Who says that's the only way? The reason why I'm prostituting is because nobody will help me if they don't sleep with me. Who told you that lie? That may be the reality of what you're seeing, but that's not the truth. God provides for his very own. God makes provision for us. So have you explored that channel? Have you spoken to God about it? You just saw the only door available that was open to you. That's what you just entered. No, So don't give excuse to remain in sin. Don't give excuse to why you cheat someone. Don't give excuse as to why you are bitter and unforgiving. Don't do that. It won't help you. Not in any way. Okay, let's look at 1 John chapter 3, verses 8 to 10. 1 John 3, 8 to 10. It says, but when people keep on sinning, it shows that they belong to the devil, who has been sinning since the beginning. But the Son of God came to destroy the works of the devil. Those who have been born into God's family do not make a practice of sinning because God's life is in them. So they can't keep on sinning because they are children of God. So now we can tell who are children of God and who are children of the devil. Anyone who does not live righteously and does not love other believers does not belong to God. Don't give an excuse to remain in sin. In the end, their excuse won't be tenable, okay? Seek to know better. Seek to open your mind. Then we're still on number 3 now. Some people have an excuse as to why they are not giving. They say, I don't have enough. It's not enough for me. It will never be enough for even when you don't give. I tell you, it will never be enough for even when you don't give. Don't have an excuse as to why you're not kind. Don't have an excuse as to why you're not loving, why you don't care. Don't have an excuse as to why you're insensitive. So maybe somebody did that to me, so I will not. No, don't do that. Do something different next year. Do this. Don't carry on in the same pattern to 2025. Are you with me? Some people have an excuse for their eating habits. Someone takes them out, they see an opportunity to eat. They want to eat everything and take home. They want to eat everything. Don't have an excuse as to why you're a glutton. Why you just cannot see food pass. And then it becomes you. You don't tell yourself, when I see good food, I don't know how to control myself. No. Do something different next year. Do something better. Because as a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. So you can't think evil. You can't think sin. You can't willfully sin and expect good things to come out of you. So let's begin by changing some of our approach to this. Then also, don't have an excuse as to why you're not studying the word. I say that again and again and again. This study time with the word. Don't have an excuse as to why you're not studying God's word. I'm tired, busy, my job is not enough. It's not enough. You could be in a waiting lounge. You could open your Bible in your tablet or your phones. Don't have an excuse as to why you are not studying. The word is life. Do not also have an excuse as to why you're not receiving the life of Christ. I was watching something today, and I was watching something online where someone said that it takes more faith actually to not believe in God than to actually believe in God. It takes more faith for you to believe that every of this thing that you see was created out of an atomic reaction or something. So don't have an excuse for not receiving Christ. Let's look at Romans chapter 1, verses 20. It says, for ever since the world was created, people have seen the earth and sky through everything God made. They can clearly see his invisible qualities, his eternal power and divine nature. So they have no excuse for not knowing God. So you don't have an excuse not to know God. You don't have an excuse not to study. You don't have an excuse not to believe in God. And also, don't have an excuse as to why you are not doing God's will. Some of us can procrastinate, and when you procrastinate, you are making excuses. When you procrastinate, you're making excuses. Look at Proverbs chapter 6, verses 4. When you procrastinate, that's an excuse. Are you with me? Proverbs chapter 6, verses 4. Proverbs 6, 4 says, don't put it off. Do it now. Don't rest until you do. Whatever it is you need to do, do it now. Are you with me? If it's time for you to do it now. Don't procrastinate. Let's look at what James 4:14 tells us. James chapter 4, verses 14. It says, how do you know what your life will be like tomorrow? Your life is like the morning fog. It's here a little while, then it's gone. No one guarantees you tomorrow. So do it now. You know, the business you didn't do this year that you knew in your heart, you knew somewhere in your heart that God was aiding you. You knew that was the business for you. You knew that decision you made, you were supposed to have executed it this year. Don't procrastinate next year. Do it. You know, take the bold step. Take the leap and trust God. Okay? 1,000 miles begin with a step, and little drops of water makes a mighty ocean. You know, fear not if God is the one leading you. And like I said, don't have an excuse not to do God's will. We see Moses in Exodus chapter 4, verse 10 to 14. He gave God all the excuse. I'm a stammerer. I can't go. in Exodus chapter 3, verse 10 to 13, we also see that. Exodus 4, 10 to 14, Exodus 3, 10 to 13. We see Moses with the excuses. And all of a sudden, Aaron showed up, and the Lord said, you know what? Aaron will speak for you, you know. So that's on number 3. So stop all these excuses you have made somehow, somewhere. One of us, we have faulted in one of the points I've listed. And if there are any other excuses you've made for yourself as to reasons why you have not taken that bold step, you know, don't make that mistake in 2025. Then number 4, build financial discipline. If you spent extravagantly this year, you can build your financial discipline so that you are able to harness your finances and direct them to the right places. You know, don't do frivolous spendings, spontaneous spendings. You know. Then number 5, prompt obedience. Yield more. Yield more. I tell you, yield more to the leading of the Spirit. Yield more as you obey God's command. Then 6, be planted in church. Don't be a Sunday church goer, you know. Be planted. Serve. Find a department in the capacity that God has created you or put in you to serve. Serve somewhere. You know. You're going to church, nobody knows you. Find somewhere. 2025 is a new year. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do what you did this year in 2025. Are you with me? Be planted in a church. I know a lot of us have reasons as to why we don't want to do church. Be planted. Then number 7, build your faith. When you build your faith, you have less worry, you have less anxiety, you know. So you don't have all of that. Build your faith this year. We're entering a new year. Build your faith. That's why I say know God better. Then 8, eradicate any leaven that can leaven the entire lump. What do I mean? Do away with those little foxes we talked about like 2 months ago or a few weeks ago. Do away with them. Unforgiveness, bitterness, do away with them. Do away with those little foxes, you know, pride. Do away with those things. There are things that has eaten deep into you that you have become, it has become a norm for you, and it's made you into someone or who you shouldn't be, or you're not meant to be. So do away with those little leaven that can leaven the entire lump. Don't overlook any of those little teeny weeny issues. Don't overlook it. Deal with it. Nip it in the bud. And number 9, redefine your association. There are some associations you were involved in this year that didn't profit you. Make some changes and trust God as you do so. You don't owe anybody any apology. Don't be too emotional as not to let certain people live your life. Sometimes you need to be the one to walk away. Some persons will never leave you. Redefine your association. You've decided what you want to do in 2025. Change association if you must. You know, being around the right people and the right persons can catapult you to heights you can't imagine. We talked about the gift of men. If you look at the points listed here, these are things we've talked about in some of our topics or teachings in the study time with the word for the year. So I'm giving you a rundown so that we can work together by the help of God to make this happen. Redefine your association. Some associations will never benefit you. They will never profit you. They will take from you rather than give to you. Redefine your association and make the necessary changes if need be. Then lastly, be diligent. Be diligent. Proverbs chapter 20 verses 4. Be diligent. Proverbs 20 verses 4. It says, those too lazy to plow in the right season will have no food at the harvest. Be diligent. Think God. Think wise. You know, make right decisions, right choices. And then get to work. Get to work. Don't be laid back. Don't be laissez-faire. Don't be lackadaisical. Just get to work. Start somewhere. God put it in your heart. Like I said, when we started our life teachings, we didn't have this setting. It was God, you know, God leading us, and we're just following His leading. We're not looking at the availability or the provision. You know, it wasn't him calling us to do what he has called us to do. And he assured me, he told me he was going to make provision. I didn't have to wait to see it for us to move. We didn't have to wait to see it for us to move. We moved, and not knowing that God had already moved ahead of us. So be diligent. Sometimes you're waiting for that thing, that structure, that plan to fit in. You know, you're waiting for that a big investor, you know. No, start somewhere. This 2025 we are going into, do things differently. Like we said, do certain things different, and sit down and do a reflect and do a rethink as to the things you need to do differently this year. People you need to let go this year. There's any person that may be hindering your progress, let them go. Thank you so much for this edition, for joining us on this edition of Study Time with the Word. I'll be here again tomorrow for the continuation of our teaching. We are talking about New Year, New You. Okay.